We're here today with Francisco Santos from Your Financial Race, and we're going to be talking about money and our thoughts.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Eric, for having me. And I'm happy to be here to talk about, thoughts, what you think. A lot of people talk about mindset, and I want to get into thinking, right? Mindset is a form, thinking is an action. Um, and I know when people start thinking, it's like they get into their own way. So thinking about financial abundance, financial wisdom, financial freedom. That's what everyone's looking for, right? They want to build generational wealth, but only thing you hear people say is, I want to build generational wealth. But before you get there, you have to start thinking how to build generational wealth, right? Just like the book, Think and Grow Rich, it's all about the process of thinking, right? You think first, put the plan in motion, and then you move forward. Um, those are great aspects is the fact that most people don't think, right? They don't want to see the pain. They don't want to feel the pain. So the mind is always moving you in motion. Um, I always say is you think and your mind and your body will do. So just think about it. If I was to say, "Hey Jay, I want you to run," you're not going to think about running because your body's so used to it, right? So it's conditioned. But
Yeah.
if you look at a child and you tell them to run, they're going to think about it first when they're first doing it, and
Yeah.
then they're going to try to run, right? And I think that's what we have to do is that we have to reset ourselves back to the childhood that we are because we didn't really encompass everything that we were supposed to do when we were looking at growing and learning about financial because that wasn't taught to us. So starting everyone off in the beginning, I think that's the best start.
It really is laying down that foundation, right? It starts with a thought, and something that you said, it really kind of just stuck with me right now. And it was, children, you can tell them to do a bunch of things and they'll look at you first. And then all of a sudden it's like you start seeing you see their minds working as you're talking to them. And sometimes I think because we're so conditioned to run, 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 you have to get everything done right now. You're taking care of kids, you're cooking dinner, you're looking at the stock market, you're looking at real estate markets, you're just doing so many things at once that our brains are conditioned to kind of take out the noise and take out all the fuss and just kind of get to the actions immediately. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that we need to be intentional. And being intentional means really focusing on your thoughts so that you can push forward.
Right. And I'm gonna lead into one thing that most people don't do, right? If I was to say, how much money has gone through your hands throughout your whole working career? You're gonna sit there and it's gonna be to a point I stumped you. You're gonna look at it, it's like, I don't know. But if you take, and this is just a calculation I'm gonna do, a person that makes $100,000, especially in the state of Connecticut where I'm at, with taxes and everything that's withdrawn from the federal, state, and all the FICA and all that other stuff, that they take out of your check, you're typically taking about $65,000 to $70,000 a year, depending on your deductions, right? So multiply that by 10 years. Imagine if you're making $100,000 for 10 years, right? That means you're bringing home between 65 to 70,000. That means in 10 years, you had money go through your hands of 650,000 to 700,000,
Yes.
right? And we don't think that. And one thing that I would remember, my uncle telling me when I first got my first job, really got a first job, not a part-time job working at McDonald's or anything like that, but a full-time job was the more money you make, the more money you spend, right? To me, that was his way of saying, hey, be careful. But he really didn't understand to me, I don't think he really understood the context. And I didn't understand the context, right? I didn't think about that context. I said, oh, okay. So the more money I make, the more stuff I can buy. So let me go make more money,
Mm-hmm. Now I
right?
take a little bit step further there, Francisco. And you're saying people don't know how much money they've actually like crossed their hands. I, being an avid watcher of a specific channel, have come to the realization is we don't even realize how much money we spend on a monthly basis, let alone on a yearly basis. Half the time, especially I want to say right now, in with credit cards, with loans, and the wants of, this generation, we spend more than we actually make. We're actually losing more money than we're making.
Correct. And that's where, and I think that's all based on the individuals and how they grew up, right? We always, and I know you guys, we had a conversation. I always wanted a pair of sneakers for every single day, right? Go to school with a different pair of sneakers. So everyone could be like, wow, look at him. Look what he's got it, right? And when I got older, that's what I started doing. I had the job. So guess what? I started buying a pair of sneakers so I could rock every other day or whatever it may be. You'll see me with a different type of style or whatever it may.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the lack, right? We don't understand that our thought process as we're going from, where we were at to not having to having was lack. So now we have to make up for that lack. And most people, that's where they get into financial ruin and financial issues and financial trouble, right? That they want to show someone else that, hey, I've made it. You didn't think I would do it. I've made it, right? It's, just like I, always say, it's living ghetto fabulous will keep you ghetto fabulous.
Yeah. And it's
Right.
so hard to reprogram our brains to not want, right? Even just that, to not want, because you could have lacked your whole entire life, and then all of a sudden you have this money to be able to give you all the things that you want. I think I've even heard other people say, now that I'm an adult, I can buy all the things I wanted as a kid. And that's such a trap. How about we teach our kids to be okay with what they have and maybe play with their imagination more? We have a 3-year-old, right? And our goal is to teach her financial literacy, financial freedom. We don't want her living in a life full of debt. We want her to enjoy what she has and not be part of the cycle of just consuming and throwing out, buying and throwing out, and living with so much things that you don't realize actually affects you day in and day out.
You bring up a great point, right? Consumerism is based on the thought process of what people can get excited about, right? So I always look at it now as like, do I buy for today to punish my future me? Right? That now that future me has to pay for what I got today. And it's not just the future me of the future. It could be the future me of a year from now, 2 years from now, right? I look at myself, I'm different than who I was when I first started off on my trajectory 4 years ago during the whole COVID crisis. It was a different economy, different situation started happening. And that's where my financial change started coming off, right? And I wanted to make sure that once I found it, and this is all based, your financial race is nothing on being a financial advisor, right? I don't advise on any type of financial stuff. I just advise on my findings of what I was able to do to get out from learning from other individuals that I've been able to talk to and been able to learn from because they also walk the walk. They showed me some stuff, and I also read books, and there's thousands and thousands of information out there. But one thing that we do once, I can say for myself, when I got out of high school, I didn't want to read another book. I didn't want to, touch it. I hit that top of the mountain and I was okay. I wanted to stay there. I didn't, you didn't have to give me anything else. I was a worker man. I went to work. I did. The school system created exactly what they wanted to create out of me.
Yeah.
Right. Someone who's smart enough to go to work is very pertinent on his daily task. He can get it done. But that's the whole thing about, the monetary situation, right? If I'm a worker, I'm constantly working. I don't see any value to it. It's just a day in and day out, right? You're starting to look at the malaise of going to bed, waking up, going to work, and having 2 days off. Waking up, going to work, and having 2 days off, right? So I turned to consumerism, right? That was the only thing I knew. I bought a brand new car, got into debt, didn't really understand credit. That was all my thinking process, all my thoughts. I stumbled into a lot of things that I did great. but I fell a great lot on a lot of stuff that I did awesome. Awful, not awesome. But that was, now that I'm thinking about things and I'm starting to look at it, it's not the fact that I'm depriving me now. I'm encouraging my future person, right? Or who I'm going to be in the future. It's I say it, we're in the Olympic stage right now. This whole weekend was nothing but you know, um, the track and field, and it's still going on.
Mhm.
I say life is a baton, and you're handing it to yourself every 100 meters, right? So imagine if it's not a 4x4, but it's a 4 by life, and you're constantly going around the exact same track and you're handing it off, but you're getting faster, quicker, and you're getting more stable. That when you get to your future you stop. There's no more batons being passed because now you hand it off to someone else to do it. That they were watching you. Now you're handing it to them. Now they can move forward. Now your future you is walking around the track saying, "Oh, I know where you're at. I'll get you right there." And when you get there, it's going to be better than what you thought. Um, and it's just that process of just getting that 1% better and moving forward in your thought process and understanding that you didn't make a mistake in money, right? The mistake was thrown onto you. It was caused to you that they didn't give you the aspect of learning about money because it's a game. If I always say is you put it in a book, you hide it, and they gave us the wrong books to read. They didn't give us the right ones that details in life. They gave you a bunch of acronyms and quotes, and they were cut off in a little bit. They didn't give you the whole thing because it was designed as that. Let's not give them too much. Let's give them enough that they're happy. And if they do get unhappy, give them a little bit more, right? And then they'll shut up, they'll move on, they won't say anything. Um, and one of the books that I tell you that was really great for me, that really helped me out to understand that my failures don't have to be the end all, was The Richest Man in Babylon. When the guy said, he gave his money to a glass merchant to buy copper, you know, and he didn't get his money back and he lost it all. The guy who was mentoring him saying, "Don't worry about that. We all learn, right? Pick yourself back up, save your money again, and now give it to the right person you're supposed to give it to, right? Learn from your mistakes. Don't think that, oh, I'm not good in money. I don't know nothing about money. I'm not great in finance. You don't have to be. You just have to know that I need to pay attention to my money. I need to think of where my money is going, and I need to be a good steward of it. And starting that thought process is an energy. Just like I said in the beginning, is your mind will control your body. If I would tell you to smile, right, your whole body changes,
Mm.
right? If I say, this person did something bad to you, your body changes. It's all energy. So if your mind is thinking, because you don't smile just to smile, it hits your brain first, and then you smile, right? It's quick and instantaneous. So just understanding that if I think just 1% better today and move forward tomorrow, I got better 1% better, right? And trust me when I tell, I always say this is if you got yourself into a financial situation, you didn't do it yesterday. It was years to get there. It's going to take you some time to get out, and it's going to take you some time to change your mind and how you move.
Absolutely. I think it's so important to recognize that it all starts with our brain. It all starts how we think. That is the beginning of everything, right? Because like you said, it didn't take a minute to get into the amount of debt that most people get into. It's years, and it's habits, and it's their actions. And all of those are controlled by one place. And it's what we have between our ears, right? Um, couldn't have said anything more clear for people to understand what you did in your past doesn't mean what you did in your past doesn't mean that it's going to continue. You have the power to change the moment you decide to make a difference.
100%. One quote that I say to myself is like, if your mind is not minding your money and your finances, someone else is going to mind your money and your finances, and you're not going to like how they do it. And that's exactly how you get into financial ruins, because you allow other people to mind your money and your finances. Just like you said with habits, those situations are built on based on how you've seen other people move because you saw their habits. So your mind tricked you into thinking that that's how you're supposed to move. That's what I'm saying. It's like our mind is such a powerful energy draw and giver, and it will give you what you need to sustain. And and this is the thing is, even our own body, right, will go in great lengths to protect the most necessity in your own body. So if you're out in the cold, it's going to start taking away what it needs to take away from your limbs to keep the heart and the brain intact, right? To make sure that it survives, because it's very important. And if it's willing to do that, what amount of energy can it do if you move it in the right direction just by 1%, and you start thinking about your finances and moving it into that direction and start thinking that I can make a difference, right? It's just how you feel and how you move. And if you believe you can make a difference, you can make a difference.
Absolutely. All you have to do is start thinking about it, right?
Right. And that's why I'm a big advocate of thought first, especially with the Your Financial Race. The first class is all about thought process, right? Getting to know their thought process, getting to know where they're going, where they want to go, what plans do they have to get there. It's not my job to say you can't get there, right? But it's my job to encourage them on and say, okay, I know where you're at. I know where you felt your failures. Now let's turn that doubt opposite of what you feel if it's negative, and let's make it move in the right direction, because everyone's going to fail. I fail every single time that I walk this earth. I make mistakes. One thing that we have to understand, and it was told to me, just recently, that we have to let those mistakes go. You hold on to your mistakes more than anybody else, and no one else cares more than you, you know. And I heard it multiple times, and I kept holding on to it to this final time. And I said, you know what, you're right. I'm letting everything go. I'm different than I was 10 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and definitely different than I was last week.
Let's be real, our brain has a capacity to continue learning as long as you feed that, which
Correct.
ultimately means that if you decide today, tomorrow, a month from now, I want to be different, first thing you gotta do is look at what you're doing right now. Think about it and think about how you can change that.
What you have to do is think about, just like you said, think about it, think of course of correction, and think about who you can, find to help you out, right? It's easier to go down a dark road with someone that you trust to go with you, and then to go down yourself. I always say is there's always a friend, there's always someone else that's going through the exact same challenges with you know, and you want to make sure that you take someone with you. If they don't want to go with you, then you say, hey, I got to light this fire by myself and go by myself. And sooner or later, they'll catch up to you, because that switch has to hit them as well, just like it hit you. One thing I want to say is that people will always make you feel bad for changing who you are. If you're looking at changing to the better, there's going to be people who are going to say, hey, you're changing on us. You're not the same person. When you change, you're never the same person. Those are the aspects of change. You're right. I'm not the same person. I am different, and my future me or future you has to be different in order for you to get to your goals of building generational wealth, or building a financial stability, or teaching your children to move in a different avenue. That way they can understand it. That's the reason why I'm a big advocate of listening to the rich, but watch the wealthy and watching their actions. I listen, but I watch their actions, right? Because some people would say something and do something different. Um, and the wealthy, you know, they always say, I'm not leaving anything to my children because they've already taught their children how to build. So why would I have to leave anything to them when they've already built their next legacy for themselves? And they gave them that upper, shot in the arm to move forward and be able to build for themselves, right? I'm a big advocate of, they teach their children how to fish. They don't give them the fish. And I think that thought process, we have to get into our mind and saying we should not be giving fish away. We should be teaching them how to fish, how to nurture themselves, how to grow themselves, and how to think in the way of the wealthy individuals. And the only way we can do that is to start getting into the path of thinking that will generate the abundance for everyone that's around them.
Wow, Francis was just dropping bombs right now. Everyone has to come back next month as we expand more on the thoughts, the process, and of course, money.
I'll be back next month. Trust me, I got some more for you.